The Northwoods is full of interesting people with varied hobbies and collections. I'm always surprised at what hidden gems can be found. One such gem is the largest private collection of 3D photography equipment in the state of Wisconsin. Northwoods resident David Tank has amassed an incredible 3D photography collection. You know, the cards with two pictures that become 3D when you look through a special viewing device. David grew up visiting his grandparents in Enterprise, Wisconsin, about 15 miles southeast of Rhinelander, and developed a love for 3D photography through his grandfather, woodsman Art Below.
My grandfather was Art Below, and in fact, besides his lumbering stuff, he was also a 3D photographer. And some of my earliest experiences with 3D photographer were pictures that he took with his stereo realist camera in the 1950s and 60s. Every Christmas, and I think of that now, in my Christmas stocking there would be a new 3D Viewmaster reel. We each got a reel for Christmas, and we always looked forward to see what we were going to get for our newest 3D Viewmaster reel.
David explains some of the history of 3D photography.
The first 3D image was created in 1838. The first photograph was created in 1839. And the assumption was, with early photography, that it would be in 3D. The expectation was you'd see it like you saw through your eyes, except that was a lot more complicated. And people just started saying, well, it's good enough to just have one image.
Rural schools of the Northwoods often had stereoscopes, and children could be whisked away to far-off places like the Grand Canyon or the Taj Mahal.
They were heavily used in schools. There was sets of cards that were designed specifically for schools. It would be like 600, 1,200 cards. On the back of each card would be a whole description and almost a learning lesson about that event.
Predating TV and radio, 3D imagery was an amazing form of entertainment, and it's been around for 185 years.
3D entertainment was probably the television of its days. People would have stereoscopes like this sitting around in their home. They might have several of these because they only cost about $0.25 a piece at the time. We're looking at right around the turn of the 20th century, the 1900. And a basket of cards. You take a card, put it in, pass the card on to the next person. You could talk about what you were seeing. They were often cards touring the world, and it was like sitting in your home going on a world tour.
Not only has he collected 3D photography equipment and pictures, he's also won awards from the National Stereoscopic Association conventions. These conventions bring together those interested in the art, as well as famous presenters.
And they'll have speakers come who are sometimes world-famous people who are totally into 3D, like the people who maybe direct some of the 3D movies. Or Brian May, the guy from Queen, who is also one of the world's experts on 3D photography. He's come a couple of times and does presentations and talks to people about it.
Using special cameras and tripod setups, David has become an expert himself, building replicas of devices and authoring several books on the topic, including shooting all of the photos used in those books. After David retired from a career teaching mass communications at UW Stout, he decided to move to the Rhinelander area, setting up his collection in the basement of his lakeside home, curated into a private 3D photography museum. Of course, many will remember the popularity of the Viewmaster with its iconic circular photo slides. David talks about how he started his collection.
I started with the Viewmasters when I was a kid, and I never got rid of any of them. And eventually my brothers and sister gave me the ones that they had as well. That kind of became my first collection. And then when I was probably 30 years old, I ended up getting my first actual camera. And from then on, it's just kept growing. I've never really counted. I think I probably have about 200 stereoscopes, probably about 50 cameras. As far as the cards, I really don't know, a couple thousand maybe.
David goes on to tell me what makes 3D photography so interesting to him and why he's pursued this decades-long passion.
I love the fact that you're actually seeing in a picture what you see with your real eyes, which is depth. And a regular flat picture is like beautiful, but it doesn't give you the feeling of being in the picture. And 3D photography does that. You look at it and you go like, wow, I feel like I could step right into that scene.
It was wonderful to get an inside look at David's collection and share it with you. It goes to show you never know what amazing things you'll find in the Northwoods. Reporting in studio, I'm Carrie Bladorn with Newswatch 12.